Good morning, everyone. My name's James. I'm the candidate coach, and it's great to be with you Tuesday, the 20th of July, 2021. And today we're going to be talking about resumes. We're going to be talking about resumes. We're going to go through how you create a resume, what are the basics that are required, and then we're also going to look at what you need to do to really make your resume stand out, because it is a very competitive process. Shout out to all of you watching today. If you're in Victoria or New South Wales, you're in a hard lockdown just like me. If you're in South Australia, you're probably feeling a bit edgy about the same thing. So it's great to be able to come together online this morning and talk about resumes, because when you're a job seeker, probably you're putting 90% of your job seeking activities into your resume. And one of the most challenging things about a resume is there is no one perfect formula for putting together a great resume. Even amongst the recruiters that I work with, we've all got slightly different opinions on what we like, what we prefer when it comes to many aspects of resumes. It's a bit like baking a chocolate cake. If you jump on Google and type in chocolate cake recipe, you will get thousands, if not tens of thousands of different recipes, and pretty much all of them will bake a chocolate cake. But there's different ingredients in those recipes. There's a different method for making it. And so what I'm going to tell you today is my preferred way of creating a resume that I think is going to give you the best chance of standing out at interview. So let's jump in. And I will share my screen with you. So today, just a little bit of housekeeping before we kick things off. If I do drop out for any reason while I'm broadcasting today, please stay on the line and I'll pick things up again. It doesn't happen very often, but when you run over 100 live workshops every year, from time to time, there are little gremlins. So if I drop off for any reason, please stay on the line. If you see me looking over here a little bit today, that's because that's my presentation screen there. So I glance there from time to time. Ask lots of questions throughout the session today. So you can probably see the comments box. If you're watching it on one of our partner platforms, you've got the comments box there. Ask a question as we're going along about resumes, or at the end of today, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions about any part of the recruitment process. So I'm happy to stay on the line until all of your questions have been answered. But already got a few people in the chat saying, good morning, where are they dialing in from? Who's going to win the Olympics? That's a pretty tough one. I think overall it's always hard to beat China and the USA, but it's going to be fascinating watching how that unfolds over the next couple of months. All right, so a little bit about me, James, your presenter. I'm a director at Smart Recruitment, and I've been here working in recruitment since 2005, so close to 16 years now. In that time, I've conducted well over 3,000 interviews, well over 600 group assessments, and I would have placed well over 1,000 people into jobs. At Smart, we do have a little bit of a focus on recruiting roles where soft skills and interview behaviours are the key. So we talk a lot about, what you can actually do to improve your chances of getting the job that is actually not related to your skills, experience, or qualifications, and launched the Candidate Coach in December 2019, which is obviously the platform we're meeting on today to really look to assist job seekers along the journey with a one-stop online solution. All right, so I often ask this question at my start of each session: how are you feeling today? If you had to pick an emoji, type it into the comments box if you like, but how are you feeling today from that whole list of emojis? Are you along the top line, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty happy? Or, are you in the bottom couple of rows there? We are in a lockdown, over 11 million Australians, and it's been a really tough time for a lot of people. So how are you feeling today? Now, the reason why I ask you this question is the follow-up question. What about your resume? How does your resume present you? So again, if you had to choose an emoji or an emoticon or whatever you call it from this list, which would you pick? How do you think your resume portrays you at the moment? Because for most of those emojis, you don't want your resume giving the impression of most of those emojis. You want it to be professional and friendly. But a lot of job seekers don't feel confident with their resume. So perhaps that's you. Perhaps you're not feeling confident with your resume at the moment, but hopefully by the end of today, you've gained some great tips on how you can improve your confidence with your resume. All right. So having a really good mindset throughout the whole recruitment process is really important. And we can see this on your resume. I can get a sense off your resume in terms of your level of positivity, your attitude, and your mindset. And we want it to be really, really strong. So why am I saying this? Why should you have a job-winning attitude, a job-winning mindset, and why should that be reflected in your resume? Well, I want to share a quote with you from Ryan Biggs, who's the head of resourcing and employer branding at the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. And Ryan says, I will always go for someone with a fantastic attitude that may need a little bit of development over someone who has all of the skill but a bad attitude. So we can see from this quote that not having all of the skills and not having all of the experience is okay, as long as your attitude and your mindset is really, really positive. And we can show this in the resume, and we're going to talk about how we can do this today. So a resume and a cover letter can show your attitude, your confidence, and your intent. Today, we're not really going to go into cover letters. If you want to go on Thursday, I'm running this workshop specific to cover letters. So come along on Thursday because resumes and cover letters go hand in hand. But today, we're really going to focus on resumes. So, question, I'd love for you to type your answer in the comments box here, and I'm going to give you all a couple of minutes to do so. How long does a recruiter spend reading your resume? How long do you actually think a recruiter spends reading your resume? Type your answer into the comments box there, and we will see who can get it right. Who can get it right? So first guess, somebody's popped 30 seconds in there. Do we think somebody spends 30 seconds reading our resume? Do we think it's 2 or 3 minutes? Do we think it's less than 30 seconds? Well, I'm not going to keep you waiting on the line any longer. It is 7 seconds. It is 7 seconds. So when you hear that, how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel when you hear that somebody's reading your resume for only 30 seconds? We've got a sad face. Sorry, 7 seconds. We've got a sad face in the comments box there. I think it's really sad too. Think of all the work you're putting into your resume. Hours, days. For many people, your resume kind of just builds on itself year after year. And then to hear that recruiters look at your resume for 7 seconds is really disheartening a lot of the time. But how can we actually use this to our advantage? So let's have a look at what the article says. So the second dot point there, resumes that succeeded in capturing the recruiter's attention featured simple layouts with clear sections and heading titles. So heading titles are really important. Resumes organized by the E or F pattern did well. So the E or F pattern, I want you to imagine one whole piece of paper with a big capital E or a big capital F. So lots of, sort of some strong lines at the top and then a little bit coming off the spine of the letter as it goes down. Resumes did not fare well when hindered by cluttered layouts. Sorry, going back to the good things, are utilizing bold titles and bulleted accomplishments. Bold titles and bulleted accomplishments. That's what we must do. The ones that did not do well were cluttered layouts, a lack of white space. So even though we're trying to get a lot of information on there, it's important to have white space because we want our resumes to be readable. A lack of section or job headers also turned off recruiters, as did multiple columns and long sentences. So we need to draw that I down the page, and that's what the E and F does particularly well. Alrighty, so effective resume writing. So what actually is your resume? It's a factual account of your employment and study history. So it's factual. It's got dates and times and locations and places and institutes and responsibilities. But it also needs to highlight your skills and experience, and it must sell you. Your resume needs to sell you. So my question to you is, does your resume sell you? Is your resume really out there promoting you at the moment? Are you really, really confident that your resume is giving you the best promotion that it possibly can, because that's what we need it to, because you actually want someone to buy you. That is what you are doing. You want someone to buy you. When you're sending off your resume, you're saying, hey, this is me on a piece of paper. Please give me a job. A lot of the time we forget that. Think about going on realestate.com.au. Go and have a look at the photos of some of the properties that are on there. The photos are positioned in the best possible way to make the house look as attractive as possible. That's what you need to do with your resume. You need to make yourself look as attractive as possible so that a potential employer wants to buy you. And they're not going to want to buy you unless you're trying to sell yourself. So my number one rule, the coach's number one resume rule, is your resume needs to sell you. Think about driving down the street. You see billboards. They're trying to sell a product. Think of the language they use. Think about the bus stop. That's what I want you to imagine, that your resume is an advertisement that needs to sell you. So what is your resume? It's you on paper. It's an advertisement for you, and it needs to promote you. So I'm unashamedly telling you, get out there, make sure your resume is selling you and promoting you, because if it doesn't, it's not doing its job. All right, what do we need to stop doing? Think of your resume, stop thinking of your resume as dry, boring, and academic. So I'm just going to jump in the chat box here. Someone's asked if has the workshop started. Yes, it has. Click refresh if it's playing for you. So your resume, and we see this all the time. People think, oh, it's very, very academic. It's got to be very serious. It's got to be very, very formal. For some roles, maybe. For this particular, for most of the roles that many of you are going for, no. You need to start making your resume come alive, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You need to highlight how good you are. So you need to be boastful on your resume. Be boastful. And think of it as a fluid document. So a lot of people, they write their resume today, they start looking for work tomorrow, and they don't change it. Your resume needs to change for every single job that you apply to. All right. So we're going to go through 4 steps today. 4 steps around creating resumes and making them stand out. But we actually can't do anything in terms of getting it to stand out unless we've got the basics right. So what I'm going to show you now are 2 resume templates. Now, both of these resume templates you can actually download from your Candidate Coach platform that you're watching it on at the moment. So if you want to, at the end of today, go along and download this resume, then you can do so. So let's have a look at what we've got on the screen here. So first of all, we've got our name at the top, and we've got our contact details. So this is pretty common in terms of the layout here. So you'd have your name, you'd have your address, phone number, email. The addition of a LinkedIn profile I really like. I really like to see a LinkedIn profile on somebody's resume for a couple of reasons. First of all, as a recruiter, I'm probably going to try and find your LinkedIn profile. Again, I'm running a resume, webinar in a couple of weeks around LinkedIn creation for job seekers. And I'll tell you how you can make sure your LinkedIn profile is optimized for job seeking. So have a LinkedIn profile there. You'll notice that we've got clear headings here. So professional summary, formal education, and employment history. We're making the information easy to find. So that paragraph there, professional summary. Some people call it objective, overview, introduction, but it's kind of a 2 or 3 line, 1 paragraph introduction to yourself. Think of it as an elevator pitch. Now, if you don't know what an elevator pitch is, go and look it up. But it's kind of a statement here, and you need to change this for each job because you can only put 2 or 3 sentences here. You want to have something that's going to be very specific to the job you're applying to that highlights your skills and experience. We then list formal education. Now, some people like to list formal education at the end of their resume. For 9 out of 10 of you, I would say put your formal education on the front page. Because if we go back to the 7-second rule, in 7 seconds, a recruiter's only looking at the front page. We need to have people really promoting on the front page all of their best features. Because if you don't have your best features on the front page and you've got them on page 2 or 3, then we are not necessarily always going to get there. So formal education, particularly if you've got any diplomas or any bachelors, get them onto your first page. We then get stuck into employment history. What you can see on this example here is we've got 6 dot-pointed duties and responsibilities and 3 or 4 achievements. Now, if we can only list, say, 6, 7, or 8, then what we must do is change them per job. So you can't list every single responsibility that you had in your last role, because if you added up all those dot points, it's probably 20 or 30. You need to pick the 6 or 7 that are most relevant to the job you're applying for. So that's why it's really important for you to understand that your resume is a fluid document. It needs to change for each job. Each job that you're applying for, even though some of them might have the same job title, many of them are going to be different. So that's a really good basic resume layout there. Here's another basic resume layout. Again, this template is downloadable from your candidate coach platform. You can see it's got some similarities in terms of we've got contact details on the top left. We've got introduction, education, and employment history. But down the left-hand side with this one, we've added a skills and attributes column. Particularly if you are applying for IT work, skills and attributes or programs that you've used are really, really important. So if you want to include something like skills and attributes, this is another really good basic resume. What you're also allowing here, and you can see in terms of a snapshot, is you're allowing the recruiter to get the information easily off the page. Remember, again, 7 seconds is how long they're going to look at it for. Make sure it's easy to digest that information. All right, second step, selling yourself. How do we actually sell ourselves on paper? We need to sell our experience. I'm going to give you an example now of a resume I received a couple of years ago. This was somebody who worked in a sales role, and I've removed the company's name. They were a salesperson for 3 years. That's how they described the job. And they sold goods and traveled to meet the customers and keep them happy. So it's a very brief description. This person was lucky to get to the interview stage. A large part of why they did was, 3 years in one sales job shows really good tenure. Bear with me for one moment. Just help this person trying to load up. Press Control plus Shift plus R. Okay. Now, after meeting with this person, I realized very quickly how much they were underselling themselves on their resume. So I worked with them, and this is what we changed their same job to being. So same person, same job. What we've done here is we've applied the methodology of separating the role into responsibilities and then achievements. We've used bold headings, so it's easier to read, and we've also used dot points. Now, on this particular person, we've 1, 2, 3, I think we've got 9 dot points. I'd probably prefer 6 to 8, but it's really easy for someone to read these dot points. We've also used some numbers in there as well. Again, numbers are easily digestible for the viewer. But importantly, we've included achievements. Salesperson of the Year in 2014. That's a great achievement. Second last dot point, helped increase product sales in Melbourne from 400,000 to 800,000 in 2 years. Absolutely fantastic. Great achievements. But if we look at the previous version of her resume, not salesperson of the year. How do we know if it's not on your resume? So get achievements like this on your resume. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, James, I don't have any great achievements on my resume. Like I haven't won salesperson of the year. One activity I like to do with a lot of job seekers is say, okay, if you can't think of any obvious achievements, let me ask you a question. In your last job, what were the duties and the responsibilities that you had at the end of the job that were different to the start? Were you given extra responsibilities? Were you asked to onboard and train people? Because that's an achievement. Were you asked to lock up the store at the end of the day? That's an achievement. Think of anything that you did throughout the role that was additional responsibilities, and you can list that as an achievement on your resume. So you need to sell yourself. As recruiters, when we receive someone's resume, 9 times out of 10, we actually know what you did in the job. We've got a really good understanding. Achievements show how well you did it, though, how well you did it. And that's what we are more interested in is how well you did the job. So make sure you're including some sales results or some achievements on your resume, regardless of the industry that you've applied to. All right, third step, making it visually appealing. So again, so many resumes are black words on white paper. Black words on white paper. Now imagine if you were a recruiter and your job was reading resumes, which is the role of many recruiters, and you read 100 or 200 resumes a day. Extremely common. It happens all the time. So if you're reading 200 resumes a day, how tired do you think you're going to become of reading black words on white paper? So I'm going to take you to a site now called Canva, Canva.com, and I'm going to show you how you can actually make your resume look really visually appealing. So you should be able to see this on my screen now, Canva.com, Canva.com in the top left-hand corner there. What I'm going to show you is free. I do have a paid account because I use Canva a lot, but Canva is a wonderful tool. So what you can do in Canva is we go up the top and we can type in resume, and it will bring us up page after page of resume templates. Now let's have a little scroll down the page here. Any of these resumes you can instantly edit and use as your own. And what you'll notice as I'm scrolling down the page is how visually appealing they are. Not many of them are just black words on white paper. A lot of them look really well graphically designed because they actually are. So let me show you how easy it is. So you might pick a resume here that you want to use yourself. You might say, all right, let's use this one. You simply click on the tool, it loads it up for you, and then everything here is editable. So I'll put my name in. I want to choose this one, James Whitcomb. Might be just a little bit. There we go. I could change. I've actually got photos of myself uploaded to my Canva account. So let's have a quick look here. If I want to add my photo, I could put my photo in. And then I would simply just start going through and changing all the details and changing it over to my details. And then to download this button here, I could download. It's that. And let me tell you, as a recruiter, if you've read 90 resumes in a row that are black and white, and then you suddenly get something like this, which actually looks really sophisticated, then it makes a big difference. One thing to note with Canva, though, that is really, really important is that you can't download a Word version. You can certainly download it as PDF. My preference when receiving resumes is to receive a PDF resume. However, when you're applying for a job, some systems will ask you to do a Word document. So you couldn't use it for a Word document. So we've got great resume templates available on Canva. We've also got great resume templates that are available on the Candidate Coach platform that you're watching this workshop on at the moment. So head to Canva or head to your Candidate Coach site to make your resume visually appealing. Fourth step, we need to change our resume for every single job that we're applying for. And I know this is going to hurt because it means more work, but you need to change your resume each time. Even if you're only applying for customer service jobs, and you're going to apply for 10 customer service jobs, and they're all called customer service representative, each job will be written, or each advertisement will be written in a different way. They'll be mentioning different things that they're looking for. You have only got a limited number of words you can use on your resume. You need to write that resume for that one job each time. You won't need to change all of the content, but 10%, 10 to 20%. All right, if you've got any particular resume questions, now's the time to pop them in. I'm going to answer some of the common ones. How long should my resume be? Well, my advice is probably changed over time, and it's personal preference. I like probably a 2-page resume now. I used to like 4, then 3. I'm down to 2. I think first page to catch my attention and second page with a bit more detail. Some people will say 1 page is preference. Some people will say 4. At the end of the day, it's your resume. You've got to be comfortable with it. Never longer than 4, though. I just can't see any reason why you need to have a resume longer than 4 pages. Should I include a photo of myself on my resume? Well, this is a very common question. My answer is it's completely up to you. You have to decide. I'll come back to the question, your resume is a sales document. Do you think adding a photo of yourself onto your resume will help you sell yourself? One thing you need to be aware of, if you put a photo onto your resume, you are going to be judged on that photo. You are going to be judged on your appearance. It is actually impossible for a recruiter to see a photo of you and to not be able to make an unconscious decision on your appearance. So if it is a photo, a nice professional photo, if you think it's going to sell your experience better, do it. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. Should I include references and academic transcripts? Well, I like to see resumes where at the last thing listed on the resume are the details of a couple of referees. That to me suggests the person's confident in a good reference. It's not very common to see that, though. If you don't have that, if your current employer is going to be a reference but doesn't know you're looking, leave it off. But if you've got strong references and they know you're looking, put their details on the bottom of your resume. That tells me you're confident in a good reference. Academic transcripts, normally no, unless you're specifically asked to include them. And that's probably that's more likely to be common with a graduate role. Leave academic transcripts off. And should you include every job you've worked in? Well, my rule is about, go back about 10 years, because the jobs, let's say at the moment, jobs you've done pre-2010 aren't really going to carry any weight. So you need to really highlight your most recent employment and your recent skills. You can still mention what you did pre-2010, but almost just mentioning each job as a bullet point. You don't need to take up half a page of description for the role you worked in from 2002 to 2005. I'm sorry to say, but the relevancy of that job to what you're applying for in 2021 is extremely low. Alrighty, so upcoming workshops. On Thursday, we're going to talk about cover letters. So we've gone through resumes today. Thursday, we're going to talk about cover letters. Then next week, on Tuesday, we're going to go through how you can create your LinkedIn profile, make sure it's optimized for job seeking. And then Thursday next week, how you can stand out at interview. You can join these workshops back at the exact place you're watching it right now. So if you've got any other resume questions, now is the time to type them into the chat function as we're going along. But I'd like to just go through the summary in conclusion today. Sell your skills, sell your experience, and sell your achievements. That is the absolute key to having a good resume. Make it easy to read. Remember that recruiters are reading hundreds of resumes every day, and if yours is hard to read, it counts against you. It should be visually appealing, and it's okay to be bold. Again, it's your personal brand. You're trying to sell yourself. Feel free to do something different. And it must be tailored for every single job. Alrighty, so again, a reminder, we're back here at 10 o'clock on Thursday. To everybody that's joined in today, thank you very much for watching. I would love to ask you to complete a quick survey of your experience in that survey. I'm also really keen to find out what it is you would like to hear about in further workshops. So I'm just going to copy and paste that link into the chat now. Feel free to click on that link. I would love to get your feedback on today's session, what you've learned, but also what you would like to hear from in the future. Question time. So if you've got any other questions at all on any recruitment topics, I'm going to hang on the line for a couple of minutes and I will take any questions. I'd really encourage you to follow our LinkedIn page. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, we put a lot of material on LinkedIn, a lot of job seeking tips and tricks and information about our upcoming events. So check out our LinkedIn company page, which is the Candidate Coach, one word. Alrighty, I'll just pause for a moment and see if any questions come through. But apart from that, good luck to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you back here on Thursday. All the best with your job hunting, and we'll see you back online soon. Bye-bye for now.